programming in C# and ASP.NET. This is Mr. Wilson, your guide and instructor as we take a closer look at C# and ASP.NET. This is CS ASP 031 Razor Pages and Data, Part 1. Let's go to Visual Studios. Hey gang, it's Mr. Wilson. We're going to do something a little bit different today. We're going to do a little bit of work with Razor Pages. Razor Pages are going to be kind of a step for us in looking at how we can work with databases, and we can work with ASP.NET Core, and there's just a lot of little things in there that we haven't really been doing yet that it will be good for us to begin to understand how databases work and how the best way to build an application for us to be able to use for that. Okay, good. So let's go ahead. As you can see, I've got up a page which is a tutorial for getting started with Razor Pages. Now we're going to work through some of this tutorial here in these next couple of videos. This will be the first section of the videos and of the tutorial, and it will help you get a grasp of the way Razor Pages work, and also in Entity Framework. Now, Entity Framework is part of Microsoft's basically a tool to allow you to do to work fast into coding into a database. We're going to be using a process called Code First, where we're going to build the models and then have Entity actually build the database for us. There's some debate on whether this is the best way to do a database or not. If we were working in a company working on databases, there's probably a good chance they're going to want us, instead of using Entity Framework, to build what's called a DAO. This is a Data Access Object, or sometimes called a DAL, a Data Access Layer, where we would use SQL to build our database connections and all of that. And today we won't be doing that. Today we'll be using Entity Framework and allowing that to do a lot of this work for us. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with doing that. I am going to I'm going to come down here and I'm going to click Visual Studios. Now I am using Visual Studios community version, so the free version still, 2022. And I suggest, if you're still using 2019, that you go ahead and update that at this time, okay? And you should know how to do that from the first pages that I have in how to go out and get this. This is on Microsoft's Visual Studios upload page, and you could update to Visual Studios 2022. So if you want to do that, I would go ahead and do that now, and I would keep both versions, 2019 and 2022, on my desktop, because we may do some work with that 2019 somewhere in the future. But right now we're gonna use 2022. Okay, so to go ahead and do that, I'm going to create a new project. This is our common thing to do. And this time I'm going to put in ASP.NET and a core. And you can see it brings up all of the different options that we would have for that. I'm going to take the web app, okay? You'll see it right there at the top, web app. That's the one that I'm going to take. And now in here, in the description, they truthfully want us to use a specific name for creating our project, and that name is Razor Pages Movie. Okay, you can see that right there. I'm going to go ahead and get that, and going to click back down here, my Visual Studios. Okay, and I'm actually going to paste that into here. There's several times that you could copy and paste this code. If you want to copy this name exactly, you could go ahead and do that, or you can just write it off of what I've got up here. The rest of the time, a lot of time as we go through this code, I may copy and paste things. I don't want you to do that. I want you to type it out so that you can see how to do that. There's certain things we're going to type out, and there's a lot of things that you could copy and paste it out of this template. I don't want you to do that. I would prefer that you go back and look to see if you maybe made a mistake. That would be okay, but to not use this tutorial as a way to copy and paste in there, because I want you to learn the code. I want you to learn how the code works. Okay, enough of that. So we've put that in. Notice that it's come back to solution name. It's put in the same thing. We're going to hit the next button. Now, here's very important. Notice it says Net 6.0 long-term support. Okay, there's several other choices, but that is the one that we actually want to do. Authentication is none for this project. Okay, and we're just going to click the create button. Oh, okay. Okay, so I had one that was called that. I've fixed that problem. So now I basically deleted that project out. Of course, I've done this more than once, so you know, that's the reason why. Okay, so here we have opened up Visual Studios. It has created our project. So I'm going to go ahead and just click out of this. This is not necessary. This is the landing page. And so I have no tabs open at the moment. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to expand this just a little bit. Here is our Razor Pages. Notice it says Solution Razor Pages. And so there's several folders down here. And so since this is kind of a new project for us, I want to kind of go over where things are at. So notice number one, there's one called Pages, and we would expect this to be where our Razor Pages information. Now, in all web applications, the first page is called Index. Now, I've clicked on this. Notice it says there's an @ sign that says page, an @ sign that says model, index model, an @ sign. When you see an @ sign, and in this case it is in HTML, when you see an @ sign that is in there, that makes it a Razor page. It means we can access our code and use our C# code in our page. Now, we never ever want to have on our page logic or hard data. We don't want it to be in our page because that's an easy thing to be able to steal from. But things like this, like the title, the home page happens to be the title. This is all stuff that we don't care if anybody can see, right? So let's make a quick change here. Well, not yet. Let's not yet. If I click this down arrow here, notice it also opens up this page, and this says index.cshtml.cs. This is where our C# code for this page is. That's where it is. So you can see that on here. Every Razor page has a CSHTML and has a CSHTML.cs. Okay, so those two things would exist in a Razor page. If we're looking at that, we would know what it is. Okay, and so just for we're going to go ahead and just have this build the solution. Notice this is our first time to run this, so we would just use the build solution. It says, hey, it succeeded. Realize this is the plain Jane, the basic kind of. And if we were to run it as it is right now, it would open up and it will give us this. Now, you may, when you did this, you may have had it give you a couple of error messages. And those error messages that it probably gave you are these. It's going to say trust ASP.NET Core SSL certificate. You're going to say yes, okay, to go ahead and trust the kind of the fake certificate. We are running a server called Kessel in the back, and with it, it is pretending like it is the internet, okay? And so since it's pretending it's the internet, it's also pretending that it works on the internet. So we're sending whatever browser that you're using a certificate saying, hey, this is good, go ahead and run it. The next warning you're going to get is a security warning. You're about to install a certificate from a certificate authority claiming to represent local host, and this is all okay. Just click the yes button. Do you want to install this certificate? And that will keep it so that the Kestrel server then can run, and it will be fine. Okay, so go ahead and do that. No problems there. And so we are seeing right now our page open up for us. Okay. Okay. Let me go back over to here. Go to Visual Studios. I think I closed it when I opened it. Nope, it's still running. Okay, stop debugging. Okay, so let me just open that page back up. You guys probably already have it open. If you click those two buttons, then it opened up for you. Okay, and so here we are. Let me blow that up a little bit. Here we are with our page open. It says welcome across the top. It says Razor Pages Movie. That's the name of our project. It has a home button, which is this page, and it has a privacy button. If you click it, it will take you to the privacy page, okay? Nothing a whole lot right there, but we have built our first web application. Okay, so let's go ahead and close that. And if you want to look at it and mess with it a little bit, you're welcome to. But let's move on. All right. So if we go down here and we click on the program.cs, you will notice that on this page, this is the startup code. Okay, this is the first thing that kicks off when we kick that application to run. It comes in there, it does some things. You can notice at the bottom of that page, right down here, it says app.run. That's the code that causes it to go ahead and to kick off. There's also some other stuff up here that also cause it, to do the things that we want it to do. Okay. So our next step to this is to actually kind of do some of the work that's in here. I'm going to close this up. Notice if we go to the www root, you'll see that the CSS, the cascading style sheets are in there. We have a place for JavaScript in here. and we have the libraries, some of the extra stuff that we want in there to be able to run our code. Okay. The rest of this is dependencies, and then also some of the property code, such as launch settings. And notice that's in a JSON file, right? Then we've got app settings, which is JSON down here. Okay. All right. So things we're going to work on. Yep. Now that we've done all that, we kind of know the basic way that this works. We want to do something that we probably haven't done a whole lot with yet, and that is we're going to go ahead and add a model. So we're going to come to our Solution Explorer up here, and we're going to, let's just click on there where it says Razor Pages Movie, and I'm going to right click, and I'm going to come down here to add, and I want to add a new folder. Okay, so I've added a new folder into the project, and I'm going to call this folder Models. Okay, just like that. And then I'm going to, once I've created my Models folder, I'm going to right click again, and I'm going to come into Add, and I'm going to add a new folder inside of there, and I'm going to call it Movie. Okay. No. I don't want a Movies folder. Sorry. Come up here, click on that, and click Delete. That's done. Okay. I'm going to come into the Models folder, and I'm going to add, and I want to add a class. I'm going to add a class, and the class, I was getting off here, is going to be called Movie. Non-plural, no S. That's going to be important. We're going to use that later. Hey, and while you're doing this, just so that you know, I know sometimes students take liberties with the names that we use and whatever, knowing they can name things whatever they want to. But in this case, with the tutorial, I want you to name everything exactly. Exactly. If it has an S on the end of it, making it plural. If it doesn't have an S, I want you to name it exactly what I name it. Because if you don't, I would not be able to find the problem with your code. Okay? So it's important that you make sure that you put the exact same nomenclatures that I use, you should be using. Okay. So we're going to say movie. Okay? And add. Okay, so I've put my class in there that is called Movie, and now I'm going to come down here. I'm going to put a little space in, and let me come down here, and I may make mine just a little bit bigger so that you can see what I'm working on, right? All right. Now, notice that IntelliSense kind of has an idea of what I'm doing. It says, hey, are you wanting to put public int ID get and set? And that actually is exactly what I wanted to do. Okay, so notice this isn't a hard typing here, especially in this case. It knows I'm building a model for my object, and definitely building a model specifically for my Razor page, and so that's why it already knows kind of what I'm doing. Do I want public string title? Actually, I do, because my movies are going to have a title. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take that. IntelliSense does not know that I'm building a database for a movie, but it kind of thinks it knows what I'm doing, okay? The next thing that I'm going to put in a hard bracket, and then inside this hard bracket, I'm going to put data, and I'm going to put type, data type. Notice then it says data type dot string, which is close to what I want. Tab. Oh, sorry, I messed it up. Data type, and then I'm just going to type it. Okay, data type and dot date. Okay. Okay, notice that it's putting some red squiggly lines underneath my data type dot date. And it's saying, hey, I'm not sure what you're wanting me to do. So let's look over here. And notice what it says. It says, do you want me to add using system component model data annotations? And the actual answer is yes, that's what I want to do. And so, so that's good. We know that that's part of what we need up there. It's one of the libraries that we need to pull in to be able to do this. Okay. So the next step, the next thing that I want to do is I'm going to create some of the other variables that are going to be in my database. So I want a public and public, and I want to call this tab to accept. I'm going to change this. I don't want it to be date. I want it to be a date time date. I'm going to call this release date. Okay, so this is the date that my movie came out. Okay, then I want public. I want public and string, and I'm going to put genre. So in other words, what kind of movie it is. Get set. Yep. Tab. Notice how IntelliSense is helping me all the way through this. Now, sometimes it's kind of like a little kid. It's not really sure where I'm going, and that's okay. Excuse me. So let's go ahead and public, and I'm going to put decimal, and I'm going to put price. I want to know how much my movie costs, and get set, and that's correct. Okay, that's all I'm going to be doing now for this. So notice now I have ID, and so every database, every record must have a unique ID. You must have it. It's the only thing you absolutely have to have for every record. And when we talk about a record, if you think about all the information for one item, okay, let's say our movie is going to be Jaws, then Jaws would have to have a unique ID number. All the rest of it we could forget, but we must have that item, okay? So we've done that now. We have our title, we have our date time, the date it was released, we have our genre, and we have our price. Okay. Now we've done that, and I'm going to hit the save button. I'm also going to go ahead and I'm going to rebuild my solution just to let it go through and look at the code, see if there's anything I missed. Nope, it says down there at the bottom, rebuild all. That was successful. Okay. Now, even though I have the model, I can't necessarily access my database. It doesn't exist yet. And also, do I want to go through and write all the code? Now, databases, basically, the pages that I want to be able to do 4 main things with my database. I want to be able to do what we call CRUD, okay? And CRUD is 4 major things. I want to be able to create, I want to be able to read, I want to be able to update, and I want to be able to delete. So let's talk about this just a little bit. Database operations. And we're talking about CRUD, right? And so in our database, we really need to do these 4 things for certain. We can do lots of other things, and we can do some data manipulation. We can do those kinds of things, but we need to do these 4 things. Number 1, we've got to create, we've got to read, we've got to update, and we've got to delete. And once again, as I said, we call this CRUD. And so we're going to, in the next video, we're going to go ahead and build the Razor pages and put that together so that we can do CRUD operations. Let's go back to the slides. Our next video is CS ASP 032 Razor Pages and Data Part 2. I look forward to seeing you there.